Welcome back to the Bookfest Club. I'm your co-host Jay, along with my co-host Key. And today we are doing Kennedy Ryan's This Could Be Us. Shout out to all the romance readers out there. I see you. Shout out to all the people who DNF the book. We see you too. Shout out to all the book content creators out there, man. Keep putting in that work. Keep creating that book content for us. To all the book connoisseurs, to all the book readers out there, shout out to you too. We see you. TBR list looking long and crazy. Shout out to all my thriller readers out there, man. Keep thinking they get to the end and they know what's going to happen in plot twists. Shout out to all the fantasy readers. We see you out there, man. We know y'all back, but y'all still stuck in another world. We'll catch you when you get back. Shout out to all the urban fiction readers out there. We see you, man. Gotta throw that gunshot out there for y'all. Y'all know y'all love it. But Key, how you feeling today?
I am feeling amazing, Jay. It has been a wonderful Sunday. The weather is nice and warm. Summer is around the corner. And I'm still in Jay's phrase, sun's out, buns out.
That's what I'm talking about.
Happen in a couple of weeks. It's 76 degrees, sun's out, buns out.
Sun's out, buns out, man. How was the week for you going, though?
It was really good. I got a new schedule, still night shift. My days have shifted a little bit, but it was really good. My brother's birthday was earlier this week. My baby brother, Juwan, I love you, baby. That's like my son. And actually, we went to brunch earlier this morning. So it's been a really, really amazing week. How about you, Jay?
Everything is going good, man. Just maintaining, you know what I'm saying? Staying afloat.
I hear that.
I just finished this book. You know, shout out to my boy Edward. He made a clean escape. You know what I'm saying? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that later on, man, for real. Because I don't know. It was just something about this book that I really wanted the villain to get away with this. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just me, though, you know.
That's just you, Jay.
That's just me. I'm a villain kind of guy, man. But for those who don't know, like I said in the intro, we're covering Kennedy Ryan's This Could Be Us, the second book in the Skyline series. Yes. Go back and see our Before I Let Go video up on our YouTube page, man, as we get ready to talk about this. But, you know, without further ado, you know, I'm going to let Key, because this is Key's lane right here, the romance field. So, you know, I gotta let my sis kind of run the show on this with her fine rubric. Nah, don't worry about this. Don't worry about it. We got it.
He's the speaker. I'm the reader. I'm supposed to be reading, not speaking.
Nah, she gonna hold it down, y'all. But without further ado, here is Key's rubric to This Could Be Us. Go ahead, take it away, Key.
Absolutely. Like Jay said, we're going to be talking about This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. Make sure to go check out that first video. Me and Jay rated that one a 5 out of 5 stars. This book tells the story of Soledad, who has just become a single mother after her husband did the ultimate betrayal and he gets sentenced to prison. So, Jay, without further ado, like you said, let's get into it. Emotional impact and realism. Did the story feel authentic, especially after the husband's imprisonment? And were the emotions like betrayal, shame, rebuilding believable, or were they dramatized?
It was believable, because when you we see stuff like this in real world, in movies, and obviously we see it in books, but we see it in real life too, where, you know, somebody's stealing from the firm. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like Bernie Madoff, how he got off with all of those things and all the people that was involved with the scandal. So it's like these things, we've seen these things happen in real life. So I felt like it was very authentic, and the husband's imprisonment, you know, how these big guys who, you know, are in the firm and they steal money, how it affects their family. But this time we get to read about it. So it's very believable, and the drama in it felt like it was real. It felt like betrayal. It felt like shame. You know, the wife, we get to see her perspective on, you know, being hurt by her husband, being betrayed, and we'll get to you know, some of their character traits in a little while. But just everything about it, the imprisonment, how it you know, hurt the girls. You know, how Soledad had to, you know, become this, you know, the shame that she had when going to school. Like, you know, just people knowing what's going on in Scotland, because news travels fast. So for me, I was just looking at it like, this is very, very believable. So the impact and realism to me was on the money.
I would have to agree with you. I feel like Soledad finding out what Edward did, and Edward is the husband in this story, and he and Soledad, they already had a rocky romance. And
Mm-hmm.
even that I found realistic. They had been together for a really long time. They had 3 kids. You know, one thing that I love about the Skyland series is that I feel like it paints a very accurate picture of marriage and relationships. And sometimes relationships just don't work. So I definitely felt that Soledad's emotions were real. Her anger and her frustration when she found out not only that Edward has stolen this money and he was not at
Mm-hmm.
all remorseful for it, but also that he cheated on her. That's something that happens too. So just imagine the whole neighborhood, and they live in this rich, uppity neighborhood. Everybody knows now that your husband is a thief. Okay. They were about, I mean, her emotions of being scared. His company was about to seize her house. They froze her assets. He's in jail. She's stuck in this house with 3 kids and no money. She doesn't have access to their funds. So her panic, her fear, her worry for her kids, I found that it was extremely realistic. Edward's just lackadaisical attitude about, well, oh well, don't worry about it, don't tell them nothing, move the kids and do this, was indicative of, like you said, that guy Bernie, who he stole all them people's money. He was not remorseful, you know what I mean? And even though he went to jail, it's just like these people don't have their money. And that's the same thing that Edward did. He was skimming off the top of the company. He created this program and everybody was like, oh, Edward, great job. And it turns out that he was using this program that he created for his company to steal money. And it took a forensic accountant to come in and see what the hell he was doing. So I thought it was really, really original. I did. And like you said, I love that we get to see the behind the scenes. We hear about what happens when these men do these Ponzi schemes, for example, or they steal money, but we don't see how it affects the family. Like you said, this company was going to come after Soledad. They were going to take her house. They froze her assets. We don't get to usually see the other side of that. We just know this bad man stole the money. But in this book, we got to see how that is actually affecting the rest of his family as well.
And then when we talk about that, let's get into some of the character traits, right?
Yeah.
As we move over here, we see, these are some of the character traits that, Soledad has, in my opinion. This comes from all of us from the pod.
From all of us,
these are what we came up with when we were thinking about, the character traits of Soledad. She's loving. Obviously with her kids, she loves her husband. They've been married 18 plus years. So that she has that loyalty in her, she's family oriented. She got 3 girls, same guy, husband, college lover, and they built the foundation together. We find out that she's a hustler because when Edward goes to bed, when Edward goes to have that sleep, exactly. She's strong. Afro Latino. You know what I'm saying?
I love that bit of culture. Love that. Yes,
and that's the High Council, like they call it, the High Council of Boricuas. You know what I'm saying? She's caring. She has a caring spirit throughout this whole thing, a very caring spirit. Because when she's taking care of her friend who has cancer, she's like doing all of these things while still having this big, boulder on her back. From being embarrassed from what her husband did. She's friendly. Her spirit. She just has a friendly spirit overall. She is opinionated though, because when her and Edward, splat each other, when they kind of had that little back and forth in the beginning, when she's talking about her vagina or whatever the case, he was like,
"Why are you trying to say her vagina was loose?" Like,
exactly, go play with yourself.
Like,
go do something.
Only man that been up in it. Like, we've been married 18 years. Like, what do you mean? He tried to shame her because he was sleeping with another woman, and he tried to make her feel bad. He didn't even want her dressing sexy. You know what I mean? But then wanted to turn around at the same time and be like, "Your coochie's loose." Like, huh? I cannot stand Edward. I hated him, but I agree.
And we know that she's a social media. We find out that, based off of her friend Hendrix, who put her on, we find out that she's a social media influencer, and it gradually comes along well, and it works out for her, towards the end. And to us, these are some of the like strong character traits that Soledad has, as she really goes throughout the book and displays all of these character traits. You know what I'm saying? So when we get back into it, go ahead, Key. I'm sorry. This
no, you're good. That's why I said I was hoping you would just continue.
Oh, well, we know we're moving on to the FMC journey, right? We got the female main character. That's why I said I wanted to go into her character traits. Well, was she well developed? It's all good. Was she well developed, as a realistic mom, in your opinion? Did she grow and evolve, or did she stay stuck in survival mode?
I think she was very, very well developed. I feel like she was a very realistic single mom. Like I said, Edward goes to jail. Soledad, although she has a degree from Cornell University, she hasn't been using that degree. She values being a housewife. And that's something that I really, really loved about her too. I feel like people nowadays be shitting on women who love being homeowners or Susie homemakers, but I feel like Soledad gave a power to that. Like she had took care of her family, she had cooked, she had cleaned, and her family really didn't appreciate her for that. Like there was times when Edward felt like, you don't have a job, like what do you
Right.
do? Even her kids don't really see what she does as a job, and the fact that she turned that into a hustle and she did that for her kids, I feel like that was really realistic. The fact that Edward was telling her, go to Boston, stay with my mom, and she refused. She is a mom. She loves her kids. She wanted them to stay in gymnastics. She wanted them to stay in the private school. She wanted them to have these things that they were accustomed to, despite the fact that their dad had ruined that for them. And I felt like that single mother hustler mentality. I was raised by a single mom, and that's something. My mommy always had a job. There was a time in our life when my brother was going through things and she had to keep leaving work to the point where she ended up losing her job, and she never stayed out of work. Like she lost a job one day, the next day she had another job. She was always taking care of her kids. Yes. So I feel like there was a part of me that really, really resonated with Soledad's character, because I got 2 sisters. She has 3 daughters. I think that she was a very, very realistic mom. The only caveat to that, Jay, is I will say, I felt like the book did get a bit repetitive because Soledad repeats over and over. Oh, I just don't want to lose the house. I don't want my girls to do this. I gotta save the house. So I feel like although she was being independent and she was making a way for her kids, she was also still stuck in survival mode. I don't think that she ever really kind of came out of that as much as I wanted her to, because she was always hustling. She couldn't not take on any job. Yeah. So was she realistic? Yes. I definitely think she grew and evolved. She took care of herself. Remember, she went on that solo date. That's something that she she went on the solo date. There was a restaurant that she booked for her and her husband. And of course, it ain't her husband no more. She divorces him, and she still went and she went on a solo date. I definitely think she grew because she found power in her ability to be a housewife and turn that into a hustle. So I definitely think she evolved. I wish she would have used that damn college degree. That's what I said. I mean, you know what I mean? Like she right, her husband goes to jail. He's going to jail. She don't got no money. She's like, what am I going to do? And then she immediately turns to being an influencer. But then she says that she has a degree from Cornell. And I'm thinking, why didn't you put that degree to use?
Why didn't you put that degree to use?
You could have went to go get a job, girl. And you want to be a social media influencer, which there's no problem with that. That's cool. But you got 3 daughters. Social media influencer is not a steady career. You can have slow months, quick months. So that was the only thing I will say. I loved her hustle, but it didn't make sense at time that she didn't go and get a job, like a job. Like
now, one of the things that I will say as we're gonna move before we move on, right? And we talk about what's the name? Let's get into Judah's character traits, right? As we talk about
MMC,
the romance guy. And I will give my opinion real quick. I didn't like Judah Cross in the beginning.
I knew you wasn't gonna like him.
I thought he was a con artist. He was I didn't really like him. I thought he was trying to, because Soledad cheated in the beginning, right?
She did not cheat.
She cheated in the beginning. As soon as he walked in there, she cheated. I was looking at it like, yo, what are you doing? You fantasizing about this guy? And this is before we find out Edward's dirty dog, and she mentally cheated. To me, she mentally cheated. So I was like, oh wow, Soledad a cheater. Like, for real, this is what we doing? As soon as the man walk in the building,
trying to defend Edward.
Nah, I'm not gonna defend. We ain't going. I didn't like Judah Cross. I was like her older daughter. I was against Judah Cross, but we find out some things about Judah Cross is that he's loving, as he expressed with Soledad, he's family oriented, very smart. He has two sons with autism. He's very smart. As you can see, his job is literally trying to figure out who stole money. He's an accountant.
He's a forensic accountant or something. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's a strong man, as she describes, which I don't really, whatever. He's a caring dude, obviously, because he has sons who have disabilities, and how he cared for Soledad, worried about if she ate, giving her money, giving her a job opportunity, kind of just going forth with the information and trust. And and another thing I didn't put in here was she's trustworthy. I felt like he's wise because he has these traits about him that he's like upstanding. He has core values, integrity. So I kind of built that all up in the one word was wise. We know he's financially stable because he works for the forensic accountant to get bread. You know what I'm saying? He was able to bless Soledad with some, you know what I'm saying, with some bread and all that. And he's very protective because obviously of the children that he has. You know, you
Yes.
got to be very protective of them when they're around people and stuff like that. So I felt like these were some of, you know, Judah Cross, you know, character traits from what we was
Yeah, you
talking
didn't
about
put
in
the
the
one that
Rubric.
I put on there. Jay had
Which one you
asked.
put on there?
I said horny. He was a horny
Oh,
dude. He
he
was
was mad horny.
always
He was mad
that,
horny.
and I will say that
My
I
bad.
did
My
not.
bad.
I didn't like Judah, but not because of Edward. I didn't like Judah
Oh.
because I felt like he was just a horny man. Like I wanted him to seriously, I wanted him to like and appreciate Soledad, but in his mind, he was just constantly like, "Oh, look at her thick thighs." I just
40
imagine her
years
lips
though.
wrapped around my, you know what I mean? It was just kind of like you don't really even know her to be talking sexually like that with her. He was just very lustful, and I think going into the next rubric point when we talk about the romance, like I said, Soledad, her husband and her have divorced. She's a single mom. She's not really looking for love at this point in her life because she literally has just been divorced. But Judah and her meet at the party for her husband's company, and sparks immediately fly, right? That's what Jay is alluding to when he says she cheated. I will say her and Judah had a very fiery, charged first encounter. He could not take his eyes off of her.
Right.
She couldn't take her eyes off of him.
I agree.
Granted, I don't think that Soledad ever would have cheated on Edward. She wouldn't have. And
Nah.
you have to also understand she is used to being with Edward, a man who doesn't look at her twice. He's not sexually intimate with her. He's not physically intimate. He does not compliment her. And here she's at this party looking good, looking like a delicious zebra cake that he just wants to munch on. And a man is appreciating that. Of course, she's going to be responsive to that, but I don't think that she was necessarily inappropriate. But that's when her and Judah meet. And Judah is the man who actually takes her husband down. So it's a little bit of a conflict of interest there because Judah convinces her to turn her husband in and turn it in the evidence that will sentence him to jail. Okay. And then 8 months pass. They get back to, they find each other around each other again. And they start kind of a little romance. But like I said, I didn't really like Judah for Soledad. I feel like he was just horny all the time. And he was wanting something from her that I feel like she wasn't necessarily ready for. It was a point in the book when she was trying to tell him, I'm trying to solo date. I'm trying to date myself. I want to know who I am. You know, even though she was attracted to him and she liked him, she's trying to do her own thing. And he's like, you know, I don't want to judge you. I don't want to push you, but I'm falling in love with you. I just need more. And it was just felt like Judah. She's only been divorced 8 months. And you talking about you love her. What if she don't want to get into something that serious that quick? She needs time to heal. And I think he wasn't understanding that because he had been single for a long time. Remember, he's been single for 4 years, 5 years, something crazy like that. Hadn't even had sex that entire time. So I feel like when he met her, he was ready to like, okay, let me start this. I like her. And there were times I feel like he wasn't very understanding of the place that she was in her life. So I didn't like him for that. But I did not like him like Jay didn't like him because Jay is mad at Soledad for turning in Edward.
Come on, man. She turned in that John. I'm looking like, what are you doing, man? What are you
What should
doing? You
she have
turned
done?
in.
What should
She
she
shouldn't
have
have
done?
turned in that evidence, man. She should have just. And at the time, we didn't know how Edward was. We didn't know.
We knew that he cheated. We knew that he cheated because he gave her chlamydia. Jay, you didn't bring that up. Edward gave her chlamydia.
Chlamydia. Yes.
He put their family in jeopardy and he didn't give up.
Yeah.
He was like, literally, go live with my racist ass mom, honey. It's no problem. Edward was a piece of shit.
Well, since we on the Edward train, right? We on the Edward train. Let's get into his let's get into Edward's character traits, right? And
okay, I see loving. I was like, Edward is not.
No. This is Edward traits right here. He's wealthy because we know he got money on the side, and in the foreign, he got a little bit on the side. But we also know he broke because when she turned in the feds evidence, you know what I'm saying? We find out that my boy really broke because they took all of his bread. So they thought. So they thought they took that bread. I felt like he was narcissistic, you know, with his relationship with Soledad.
Yep.
You know, he was I don't even know why I spelled suspicious wrong. Well, I think that says suspicious. You don't find that suspicious? Pardon me, y'all. I was typing. I might have been tired, but that's suspicious. He was suspicious in his actions, you know, obviously stealing from the firm that led to it. And we know when you get suspicious, you are a thief, right? And you a cheater. So see, I'm not just on the Edward train. I put stuff in here. He's unreliable. He's weak. He's a weak man. He's a cheater. He's a thief. Because he wasn't able to. You got 3 girls. What kind of example are you setting for your girls. That's a weak man's mentality. You know
That's
what I
true.
mean? When you out there and you have females in your family, you're the only male, right? You would want your daughter to be with somebody like you. So to me, Edward was a very weak man
I
who didn't
agree.
have no core values. He didn't teach his girls, in my opinion, when I'm reading the book, anything about what to find in a man or how to succeed in finding real love. Because as we know, I just feel like he was using Soledad this whole time, because she even talked about it. A lot of the times Edward leaned on her because
Yep.
she was the smart one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of his
She put him through school. You know what I
exactly,
mean? So
exactly. A lot of his ideas and his thoughts came from Soledad, which is what your wife's supposed to do. She's supposed to be your backbone and help you, but he didn't. It was no consolation
he
for her.
was a
You know what
greedy
I mean?
man. He was a greedy
He
man.
was a
He
very,
wanted to have
very
his
greedy
cake
man.
and eat it too. And you know what I find really interesting? Some about what you said, that he didn't provide that guidance for his daughters, but
Yeah,
remember how much his daughters love him. One of
exactly.
Soledad's oldest daughters, she like does not like her mom. They argue a lot throughout this book
Yeah,
because she feels like, Jay, you really turned dad in. Like,
yeah,
she's a daddy's girl through her core. And another thing that I found interesting is that although Edward didn't teach them guidance about what to look for in a man, his kids took on his mindset about
yes,
Soledad and her role in the family. Like, you know, he just felt like she was just a throwaway bitch. Like, you know, she just does this stuff, but it has no value. That's like, and his kids felt the same way. There was a
yeah,
comment that one of them made, like, Mom, but that's not, you don't really make money for that. That's not like a job. Like, just very
job.
flippantly, you know, and Soledad expressed
Facts.
hurt over that. Like, I can't even believe that how I care about my family, how I take care of my daughters, how I take care of my home is just seen as
Mhm.
nothing. But again, they get their attitude from their father. And so that's why I agree with you. He absolutely was weak. And let me tell you something. I feel about him exactly how I feel about Naheem. It's one thing to cheat on your wife. Okay. You cheat on your
That's
wife.
another thing. Yeah,
It's one
it's
thing to
over.
cheat on your wife. That already is
It's
something that
over.
it's very, very difficult to forgive in a relationship. And the only book I read where I forgave the cheater was the book Parachutes by Takira Allen. Read it. It's amazing.
Mhm.
But it's one thing to cheat on your wife. You're a horrible man. But to cheat on your wife and not even be considerate enough to wrap your dick up in a condom and give her a fucking STD,
Mhm.
that is how little Edward thought of
About his girl.
Soledad. He did
Mhm.
not give a fuck. I don't care if she gets chlamydia. And then the fact that he treats Soledad like shit. He got chlamydia
Throughout
from
the whole book.
Amber, from old
Yeah.
girl who was messing with another dude. You know what I mean? So it was just kind of like, and he still wanted to be with her. He had a baby with her, and she's coming up and visiting him in the prison while he's trying to
With
rush
the
his kids to
baby.
the family with the baby. So I did. That's why I felt like at the time when Soledad betrayed him, when she turned the evidence over, I'm not gonna lie, Jay. There was a part of me that felt like, damn,
You
like
gonna do that to your
you
husband
know, not
though?
even that she gonna do
Like
that to her husband, but
word.
this is the father of your kids, and I was
Facts.
like, damn, like it was like I kept feeling like this is going to affect her some kind of way, like
Yeah.
it has to, but. Knowing who Edward is and his character, I just feel like she didn't really owe him any loyalty. And that's why I said, let me ask you this. Do you feel like she would have turned him in if he didn't cheat? And maybe their marriage was on the rocks, but he didn't cheat. Do you think she would have turned him in?
Nah, she wouldn't have turned him in. I don't think she
You
would
don't
have
think
turned him
so?
in.
But
I
what
don't
about
think
the
she
fact
would
that
have
she
turned
would
him
have
in.
lost the house? She had no money. She would have had to go live with his
If he
racist
was
mom.
innocent. If he was innocent. If he was innocent, I don't think she would have did that. You
He
know what I'm
wasn't
saying? Like
innocent.
if he was falsely
But
accused.
say, because this is the thing. What Edward did was fucked up. It was wrong. But
Mhm.
he said something in the beginning. He was like, I did what I had to do to protect my family,
Protect the
protect my
family,
family.
like kind of
Something
want to
that he,
set them up for life
yes,
child deal. Yeah.
exactly. Because and I don't think I don't even know if he ever would have divorced Soledad. I kept thinking that.
He would have
And
never
I keep
divorced her.
thinking, I don't think he would
Absolutely
have
not.
divorced her, even with Amber being pregnant. I feel like he would have just kept that over there. Maybe she would have never found out about it. But he does say that in the beginning, like, I did this to help my family. And so there's that part of it. Yeah, you a thief. You a lying ass thief. You stole from your business. You know what I mean? But say my husband did that because we was broke and we didn't have no
Right.
money, or he wanted to put us up. I don't know if I would snitch on him, you know, because it's just like, well, you was doing good. You was trying to do good.
He was
But
trying.
when Soledad, she gets angry. Remember when she finds out she has an STD, and then she finds evidence, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you nigga, you gonna pay." Well, I don't
You
know.
gonna
Is that
pay for this.
white? I can't say nigga because I think he's white. I think he's white.
Oh my God.
I was saying nigga. I'm like, he's white, but yeah.
But what do you think about the romance and chemistry between Judah, between the two love interests, Judah Cross and
I
Soledad?
told you, I
Like,
felt like they didn't have romantic chemistry. What they had was lust. Soledad hadn't had the cobwebs knocked off that coochie in a long time. And she was very attracted to Judah. They were very, very intensely attracted to each other, but they did not know each other. That's how I felt when I was reading this book. I like there was no romance really. It was just kind of like, hey, I'm gonna bring you this bread basket, step in, hey, how you doing? And that was it. It wasn't, I didn't feel like he was romantic with her. He was just very lustful. He wanted to kiss her. He wanted to have sex with her, but I didn't feel any romance in their relationship. And I think that's why I didn't like this book as much because, you got This Could Be Us. I mean, Josiah and Yasmin wasn't even together, and the chemistry was sizzling off the page from the very beginning. They weren't even together, and I knew. Yeah, they feeling each other. This one was kind of like, and I told you I didn't really like Judah. He was boring to me. There was nothing.
You think so?
He was. There was the most exciting thing about Judah to me was the fact that he had kids with autism, and I loved seeing how he handled them in the public setting when they would get into one of their episodes and how he calmed them down and how he was very loving and very caring. I love that. I love his relationship with his mom. I love that in his head he's like, I got to invest because I got to make sure my kids are okay. I may not be around. Yeah, and I feel like he was a great father, an amazing care for his kids. But as far as romantic partner, I didn't find him attractive. I found him boring. There was nothing inspiring about his character. I didn't find him sexy. And I wanted him to like Soledad, and I felt like he was a stalker. Remember when she started doing her social media shit, and he would be like watching her videos.
I seen that. Yeah,
and then he would mention it to her in person. I think that's weird. People used to do that to me at work. Yeah, I seen your video. Like, okay, why are we talking about it in person? Leave the comment on the video. I don't know. Just he was like, weird, no, right? Yeah, he would tell her. Remember, she didn't even tell him about her sisters, and she started talking like, yeah, my sister. He was like, oh, which one? This one or this one? She was like, wait, how do you know? He was like, oh, I remember on your episode. I'm like, that's weird to me. But I was
talking about the dress she should wear when she went out. Like he was watching her page crazy. I ain't gonna lie to you.
And I just didn't find it cute or romantic. I found it weird. But I will say this: there is a part of me that feels like Judah is or could be autistic. He even says that, like, he could be on the spectrum because he recognizes a lot of himself in his kids. And I know that people with autism and sometimes people with even Asperger's, they look at situations differently than other people. So I thought maybe that was what his character was supposed to be, like kind of this awkward guy, but he was weird to me. He was a weird fucking dude. There's also this part where she was like, oh my God, I didn't say. And he was like, I would go through a jungle bush to get to this coochie. He said something just disgusting.
He was a little corny, but he was corny though. I mean, he wasn't like what's the old boy?
Who?
Not the one from Yasmin husband. He wasn't Josiah. Josiah had that swag. He had this smoothness. He was moving and grooving.
Listen,
this dude seemed a little.
Don't work.
Right.
Don't go back to that. You call me. Josiah had it, and
he
Judah
did it.
I just wanted to find him sexy. I wanted to find him excited, and I didn't. So that's how I felt about the romance. I just feel like he was so pushy with her. I didn't like that. I feel like he was just stalking her all the time. But how did you feel? I'm sorry, I've been just running my mouth. I know you don't like it, but how did you feel about their romance?
I felt like the romance was earned. I did feel like it was trustworthy because he took his time. Look how many seasons they went through. It's been a year, and I like that about how Kennedy Ryan write. It's not rushed. It's not rushed. So that's what makes it. That's what make the interest feel earned. Yeah. And I like that you put that because it's earned. It took his layers to it. You know what I mean? He let her, and when I mean trustworthy, he didn't try to jump into like it with her. He didn't try to force his way onto her. He let it go. Numerous times as they saw each other dropping bread on the basket, whether him attending her event, it was earned. Everything was earned, and it felt trustworthy. It felt like they had real emotional connection. And I think that
where was the emotional connection? Where I'm asking you, where do you feel like they emotionally connected?
And this is why I put this up here. Judah, he gave her time to process her healing. He didn't rush her.
He did rush her. He did.
I don't think he rushed her because he even told her like, yo, when they was getting into it, he was like, I don't want you to do this because you mad at him. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't let me be the rebound guy. He told her, you might need time for yourself. And she was like, no, no, no. She came on to him. She really threw the yams at him. He was like, yo, I don't know if you ready to do this. He said it to, he said, are you here because you just found out that your husband had a baby? So now you kind of want the revenge dude. I'm the revenge dude that put your husband away. He said it. Most dudes wouldn't have said nothing. Oh, you ready to give me some get back cheeks? Let me clap those for you. One
and he
time.
still did it though.
He did it because she wanted him to, because she said, this is her. She said, no, it don't have nothing to do with that. You know what I'm saying? She just felt like she just been waiting too long.
That's not romance. That's sex. They had
it was still romantic though. They still built some type of chemistry. It won't all bad.
I'll tell you something. I mean? This is why I felt that way too. There was a part in the book. This is why I said this. I felt like there was a part of me that felt like Judah, as well as Soledad, were both a little bit delusional. They had met each other when that whole situation happened with her husband, and he was so kind to give her those groceries. I thought that was sweet. I thought that was beautiful. But there was a moment, okay, when she was at the door, and remember, I think Hendrix was in there. Hendrix was in the house, and he comes by and he grabs her chin and like tilts it up. And even that, I was like, you don't know this woman. What are you doing? Y'all don't. And it was just like, if a man that I just met put his hands on my face like that, I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I don't know you. I don't care how cute I think you are. I'm literally about to put my husband in prison. Why are you touching me like this? So I felt like from the very beginning, he was overly physical with her. I didn't like that he was so familiar, that he felt like, I'm going to touch her face. You don't know her yet. And then later on, they meet, right? And then they don't see each other for 8 months. And she says later in the book, we've known each other this long. And I'm like, you haven't known each other that long. You met him, 8 months had passed, and then you reconnected with him, but you didn't know him that whole time. Y'all weren't building on anything. But I feel like they both had each other in the back of their head. So it was building in their mind. And then when they finally connected, it's like all those feelings came rushing back. And there was this other part where they went to the picnic, where she did her little feast, and Yasmin and Josiah were there. They were so cute. I love their moments in this book. And she was like, I really think me and Judah could be great together. I think we could have something great. And I'm thinking, what would y'all have? You don't know this man. So that I hate insta love. That was what it was for me. And I felt like they were saying stuff and acting a certain way. And I didn't feel like the writing supported the way they felt about each other. It just, now if she was like, you know what, I need to get my rocks off, I would have understood that. She's independent. She's getting to know herself. She's getting that coochie ate. I applaud that. You know what I mean? I love that. While also being an amazing sister, by being an amazing friend and having her system. But if that was it, and then they just certainly started to fall in love. Okay, but she was all like, I don't know. I just felt like you were divorced 8 months ago. Like, why are you? Anyway, so that's how I felt about the romance. I feel like they had physical, lustful chemistry, but no romantic chemistry. And because of that, I skipped their sex scenes because I found them cringe and I found them corny. I did, because I was just like, I didn't like Judah. So I was just like, ugh.
Yeah, well, I didn't like him either. And I didn't even like the way they was doing it. Like, it was mad weird. She had the little dagabush, you know what I'm saying? Because she didn't shave. He got the big, oh yeah, I like that word, dagabush. So I heard a Jamaican say it one time, and that just stuck with me forever. Like, I just like that word. Yeah, little trim. You know what I'm saying? Little trim. She ain't cut the grass. You know, it's got a little dagabush. So that's crazy. I know, that's crazy. But the way they even had sex, it was just all weird to me. Like, it wasn't that Josiah, and I think that's what we basing it off. It wasn't that.
That's what it was.
Just think about it though. We're talking about two people who hadn't had relations. She obviously won't get none from Edward, and he 4 years not getting no yams. So the awkwardness, I can see why Kennedy Ryan put it in the book, right?
Okay.
Because it's like, yo, you ain't been sexually active for 4 years. You're dealing with a new woman. You're gonna be a little quirky. You know what I'm saying? And she won't get none. So what's the point of her shaving if she not really sexually active? Plus she got the, you know what I'm saying, the STD. So she probably won't really comfortable doing all that waxing and stuff like that until later on. But I like what Kennedy Ryan did with that, portion of the writing.
Maybe it was just, you're right. They
because we're active on a daily basis. So when you go 4 years and then you got to do it with somebody new, so that 18 years, and then she getting with somebody new. So
That's
it's a
true.
little bit of awkwardness in there in that. So
That's true. I give you that. That does make sense. And you know what? I think that you're right. That's more realistic. It can't just be wham
just
bam,
we
thank
know
you,
what
ma'am. Yeah, and
right.
they just met. And especially Judah is awkward as fuck. Like he is such a weird dude. And so of course he's gonna be weird during sex, especially after
Exactly.
it's been 4 years. Speaking of him,
18
how did you
years, one guy is a long time. And then you was
I mean,
barely
I'm
getting it
gonna
with
leave
him.
I'm
You
trying
was
to think.
barely getting it with him. And it's like, if you're barely getting it with him and then you're not experienced, it's just like it's gonna be a little weird. And I thought
It's gonna
that
be a little
that
weird.
was perfect in what she did. And as we move on to I'll get into the end of it, right? We got
Mm-hmm,
healing versus distraction. And I felt like this was like one of the big ones because
mm-hmm.
you said, did the romance support her healing or replace it? I'm gonna say
I'm
it
so ready. Mm-hmm.
it if I'm reading this question, right, did the romance support her healing or replace it? I don't feel like it healed her. I don't feel
I
like
don't
the
think it did
love
either.
healed her. I think that it just replaced it and it's gonna heal over time. But even she said, I don't know if you're talking about you don't want to marry this dude, you just want to be together, right? You're not healed then. I don't know. I just had a hard time in this book wondering if she was fully healed with him. It was just like at one point, it wasn't until his autistic son had an episode and he had to go to the hospital where she kind of realized, all right, this is who I want to be with. And it was like, it took you all that time. And it's like, where did you heal? You know what I'm saying? You see how Josiah and yes, and I hate the fact that we have to
I
compare,
know,
but
but
it's
it
in the
just
Skyland series
it's
and
in the
it's there.
Skyward series,
So
and
it's
it
like
started off so fiery,
right.
and
We
yeah,
saw that story and we saw how Josiah healed. We saw how Yasmin healed. We saw it with therapy. I didn't like that there was no therapy in this, and it wasn't no therapy. Soledad needed therapy. And
I
I
think
don't
so
think
too.
that that is like talked about. She needed therapy in this book. She just went through something that was 18 years, you know, in her mind. She went through like I think that's emotional trauma. And
Yeah,
I don't think that she really fully healed from that because you just can't heal like that. You need some type of therapy in this day and age. You need some type of therapy. You got to talk to somebody, especially when you've been with somebody for that long. They betray you. They had a baby on you, right? They gave you chlamydia. You damn near lost the house. You should have broke down and all of that. So where was your stress at? Josiah, Judah
Judith.
Cross not being with nobody for all of this time and you going through issues with your past wife and she left you because you wasn't loving her like that. So why didn't you the same thing with your why didn't you go to therapy for that? So I felt like I don't think that it was I don't think it was true healing. I think he just replaced
I
it. And I
agree.
know that it's gonna grow into it
Yeah.
because they're two people who love each other. They said they love each other. So I think it's
Mhm.
gonna grow into it. And I don't think it's just a quick thing. I don't think she really I don't think she truly processed it because you have to talk to somebody to me.
I
Now
agree.
knowing what I know now, you with all of what she went through, if it would have just been like he cheated, then you go away. All right, you cheated, you're gone. But she baby on you, left you for dead, left you stranded, damn near for dead. I
Mhm.
don't feel like she truly processed it. And she said it. She don't know when she's gonna be ready. You don't know when you're gonna be ready because you ain't talked to nobody.
Yeah,
So
I
in my
agree.
opinion, I just felt like that. What about you though?
I feel exactly the same way. And there was a moment in the book. It was when she went to go visit Edward, and she finally takes her daughters up there because they're like, we want to see our dad. And she gets mad at him at one point and she whispers something in her ear, like, basically, my coochie wasn't loose. I just need a bigger penis. Or, she said something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
And
when she
so
went to go see Edward
Edward. And
and she
so
wanted
with
to
that
whisper it
comment,
to
I knew
yeah,
she had not healed and she had not moved on because she was still
petty.
wanting to hurt him and be petty. Exactly. Because when you really move on, you don't care about hurting him. You're done.
Mm-mm.
You've moved on. He's in prison. What was your comment supposed to do? He literally cheated on you and gave you chlamydia. Like, he
And he
don't
got
care.
somebody coming right after you.
And
So
he
how
got
much do
somebody
you
coming
think
out.
he hurt?
He don't care that you screwing somebody else. He don't care.
Exactly.
So it was just the fact that she was in that, and that was far into the book. That was after, that was after the 8 months had passed, and she
Yeah,
still felt this like need to hurt him. And
to
I'm
hurt
not
him.
saying that I didn't understand her anger, but if she would have did it in the beginning, that would have made sense. But all this time, you've already done you've already kind of had this thing going with Judah. Why did you feel the need to hurt him? Like, what was the point? And he didn't give a damn. He got Amber coming up there with the baby. And it was at that point that I
Fact.
felt just like you did.
It
She
was at
hadn't
that
fully
moment.
healed yet, but that was my point. And before I let go, Josiah and Yasmin, they waited 2 years after getting divorced. 2 years before even deciding to date again. Soledad, it was 8 months, and again, everybody's timeline is different, but if it was 8 months and I feel like she had healed, that'd be different. But it was 8 months of her struggling to put a roof over the head, 8 months of her struggling to get money. Hendrix had to give her $10,000 to keep the house. And her kids are in gymnastics. They're in this expensive ass private school.
She had to sell stuff.
Yeah, she had to. Remember, she said she was getting rid of shit in the house.
Everything.
So she was constantly in this hustler mentality. I don't even think she even got to like relax yet before now you're entering into this thing with Judah. You still are angry over Edward. And like you said, therapy probably was needed to like work through those feelings and work through those emotions. Now, she did start reading that book, the same book that her mom gave her. Yeah. I actually put it on hold at the library because it's a real book, like in the book. That's and I love when authors put books in books. So I'm going to check that book out. And I did love how she was encouraging other people on social media to read the book with her and go this journey of solo love and self-love. And honestly, I love the solo journey and I love the solo love. I love her inventions of making money. I love the sisterhood in this book, how her real sisters come and visit. And then her sisters, Hendrik and Yasmin, they support her. Yep. They're selling her raspberry jam in the store. Hendrik is trying to get her these pear jam in the store. Hendrik is trying to get her connections. I loved all those things, but I feel like you did. I didn't feel that Soledad actually healed because she started doing things before she had gotten over Edward. And I think she lied to Judah when he said, I do. When he was like, is this why you're here? Because you just found this out? She was like, no, of course it was.
It was because you ran to his crib.
You ran to his crib.
She was already outside when she called, matter of fact. Let's not be honest. She didn't call him on the way to have time to reflect. She was already there like, yo, please pick up and let me in so I can screw you.
So again, she was doing this out of spite. And I'm not saying that she didn't deserve to do whatever she wanted to do, but Judah had years to heal, and him and his wife wasn't even in love like that, so he didn't even have a lot to heal from. He was healed, he was ready, he was secure, he had a good job, a house, he was ready for a relationship. She, I felt like, was not, and so that's why and then did she actually process her past before moving on? I don't think she did. We talked about that. She probably should have had therapy. I think she still had these unresolved feelings about Edward, especially when she's thinking back and understanding that her family never liked him, and she's starting to see these red flags that she kind of just like ignored. I feel like there was a lot of reminiscing that she did, and I just feel like she never really got out of that struggle mindset because she's just constantly like on the cusp of losing the house. So she just had a lot going on. So I don't think that she processed her past before moving on.
So let's wrap this up and get to the end. These stakes, right? Conflict and family impact. Did the ex-husband's crime meaningfully affect her life and her choices? Obviously, that's a yes.
Obviously.
We just talked about all of the things that affected her, from selling stuff to, damn near not being able to afford her kids' tuition, to her selling everything that she had, so it was like his crime really hurt her. And then, them freezing her assets, right? And her having to find the
even
thumb
her
drive
little money that
behind
she
his,
had
right,
frozen.
all gone. And she had to use the thumb drive that she found behind his Celtics jersey to, make ends meet, kind of use that as a bargaining chip so they could unfreeze some of the assets that they had so she can pay her rent or her mortgage.
So that the company wouldn't come after her. I don't know why she would go to their Christmas party or whatever that party was and cater to them.
The money. You need the money.
Yeah, I get that. You're right. She really did need the money, but it was just kind of like literally your husband stole from this business. They were about to come after you and your family, and they didn't give a damn. They literally didn't. No one gave a fuck. Remember, that guy was like, put pressure on the family. You know what I mean? And she knew that. And it's just like, I'm not going to fucking cater for you. I don't care how much money it is. Plus, I would be embarrassed. All these people know that my husband didn't stole shit. And I'm going to tell you,
y'all company, and he was found guilty.
I'm going to be honest. There were people who thought, remember, they thought that she could be involved with it. And I'm going to be honest, I would have thought that. How you not know?
I would have thought that too. It's your husband, 18 years.
Exactly. And
plus years y'all been married. I would have thought the same thing too.
You didn't know what this was. You didn't know any of this.
You don't find
That's what I said. Her going back there would just felt like, why? Leave Edward and his business in the past. And even Judah being like, oh, let me recommend her. Why would she want to come back to this company? The whole thing was weird. And like I told you, Judah is the one responsible, right, for finding this evidence on her husband. He went to jail, and then he turns around and starts dating Soledad. I'm looking at this from a mystery book perspective, because that's our thing. What? Imagine imagine the scandal of that. I would be like, Judah definitely set Edward up, because then you got with the wife after it. So y'all was in cahoots to get Edward out of there. So that's why I just felt like their whole romance was just kind of like messy, but not in a like, ooh, it was just kind of like, girl, it's other men.
But were the family dynamics with the daughters, you know what I'm saying, going deep, going depth, and 100%, 100%.
Just like Deja in the previous book, how she didn't like her mom for what she did to her dad. Soledad's oldest daughter is also a daddy's girl, and her and her mom got in many conflicts because she would be saying some smart ass shit. And I'm gonna be honest, this is why I don't have children, and I'm glad that I don't, because I was reading this shit and I was like, you would have got popped in the mouth immediately.
100%. I don't know why she didn't go in her mouth, especially when you're Afro Latino woman. You were supposed to go in her mouth immediately.
Not her in her mouth, but Soledad was. And I feel like Yasmin is the same as this. They are really great, patient mothers. Okay. They love their kids. They want a relationship with their kids. They are not going to respond with violence because they're upset or they're angry and they feel like they're disrespected. You know, and even Soledad, she was like, you did say that to hurt my feelings. You did. They had honest conversations, but I definitely feel like you said, it was realistic. They still love their dad. He's a shitty husband. Right. But he was a great dad to them. He was a great dad. And so these kids are having these conflicted feelings. Mommy put daddy in jail because daddy did this, you know, but mommy put daddy in jail. They have this feeling, you know what I mean? And I'm a daddy's girl myself. And one thing that I always really appreciated about my mommy was she never bashed my daddy to me. You know, even when he would do stuff, she never would. Like, my daddy is the one who told me about the shit that he was doing to my mommy and the stuff, fucked up stuff that he was doing. My mommy would never, because she's like, you'll see it when you grow up. That's your dad. I'm not going to bash him for you. And Soledad did the opposite. She was like, nope, my kid's going to know exactly what Edward did. She was like,
you're going to have to tell him, and you're going to have to tell him about the baby and all that.
Remember they was in the jail and the kids were like sad, and he was looking at her like, say something. She's like, nigga, or no, she was just like, you better
say something. You tell him I done did this for you for a minute. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it no more.
So her kids were old enough to understand that, and I feel like I think that she did the right thing. She was honest with them. She didn't want to lie to them, but he was in prison. She can't say, well, daddy didn't do anything wrong. Of course he did. He's in prison. You know, there's a reason for that. So, but I definitely think the emotions that the daughters were feeling was so realistic. It really was. Their anger, their confusion. Remember when the daughter seen Soledad and Judah talking, and she was like, "Oh, well, who was that?
Who was that?" Right?
Yeah, she was on it. She was on it. You know what I mean?
And to them, it's like, yeah, he is the ops. He put my pops in jail.
Literally,
I think the same thing too.
How do you think your kids are gonna feel? Even I know Edward ain't shit. He's a shitty husband, but imagine you and Judah, y'all get together, y'all get married, and their mom's man is the man who put their dad in prison. I feel like, and the thing is, even if my daddy deserves to go to jail, I'm never gonna be cool with the nigga who put him there. Never. I don't give a damn. I'm not gonna be like, oh, hey, stepdad, and I gotta wake up and see you butt naked coming out of my mommy's bedroom, and you put my daddy in jail. Now come in the kitchen like
you want some eggs, cheeks out? Nah, son, go upstairs.
That's what I mean. So their dynamic was just, I didn't want them together. I wanted her to be with somebody else. Like,
oh my God. Did the conflicts feel high stakes? That's our last point in the rubric. I felt like the conflict was high stakes because he went to a federal prison, right? Federal is the highest you can go. That's the highest prison that you can go to. You know, you got local, state, and federal. That's it. It's nothing in between. And when you get to the federal,
he was gonna do that time on his head. He knew he had that money
because he knew it. He ain't never been
like, I'm gonna do my little 2 years. And the thing is, her turning that evidence over, it didn't give him more time. It like he still did the 2 years, and he
didn't even do the 2. Remember, he got out. Remember, his lawyer got him out early because he was a first time felon. And we're gonna spoil it because y'all should have known, right? We're gonna spoil it for y'all here right now. So if you don't want the ending, leave at 48:20. Leave. I'm telling you. Because at the end, we find out that Edward escapes the country, goes to a country that doesn't have an extradition. And we find out that he did have a little something stashed away. Him and his baby moms, and they got out the way. But I like what Judah did. He like, yo, I know he stole the money, but I don't want to put y'all through that again. That's not for me to do it. The crime he was charged with, I did my job, so nobody can hold that against me. This is something that I found out on my own, that he has some other secret money, and he's in a country where there's no extradition. So therefore, Let's be honest.
But I
Edward
mean,
made
of
it
course
out.
he did. He's
Edward made it out, baby. Edward made it out
he
the
did, and
gutter.
that's the thing. He didn't really give a damn. He was gonna
He
do them
didn't.
two whatever years. He even told her,
18
like, I'm gonna
months.
just do these. I'm gonna
18
do these
months.
18 months, and I'm gonna get out, and
Yup.
we're gonna be good. He wasn't even bothered going to prison. It was like, okay,
Absolutely
and y'all
not.
not
He
gonna
like,
find the
what?
money,
Y'all not gonna
you know.
find the money.
And that
So
reminds me, Edward is a piece of shit. Remember the beginning? He had the reason why they moved in on him so fast because they found out he did buy a plane ticket, one plane ticket. So he was gonna
I
leave his
gotta get
family.
out the country.
So you know what? He is a piece of shit.
I'll
He is a
bring
piece
you
of
later.
shit.
I'll bring
Right? He
you
was like,
later.
and then the fact that he's like, yeah, go stay with my racist ass mom. Like, huh? Why you in Aruba deep sea diving with Amber and y'all secret love child? Yeah, he had her fucked up for real.
But as we get to the end of the book, right? So y'all don't spiral and say we didn't go through what we needed to go through. I know y'all love our bookmark system. We know. But Key, would you recommend this book, right? And
I
then what
would.
did you give it on? Okay, well, there you go. I would recommend it as well.
I
To
would.
all readers, to all
Mhm.
romance readers, because it's the second book in the Skyland series. This is Soledad's story. And it was a good story to me. You know what I'm saying? It had a lot of ups and downs and it had a lot of I don't know moments, but I still found it to be a good book. But
Yeah.
like we do here every week, that we do every time we do a book review, our ratings, bookmarks 1 through 5, 5 being the highest, low being the lowest. What did you give This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan?
Okay.
Hold
I'm
on one
really
second.
conflicted. Okay.
Before
Okay.
you
Okay.
before you even do it,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Because my heart is beating fast and I put the sound on. Go ahead.
I'm conflicted, Jay,
Uh-oh.
because okay, so I feel like I turned over a new leaf. Okay, I'm trying to be more like Jay. He's a reader that can critique, but he's also here for the vibes, and I'm trying to be more like low
Vital.
key. Yeah, like more like relaxed. And I've also started to realize just because I don't like the characters, just because they do shit that I'm like, I don't agree with that, you should have done this, that doesn't mean the book was badly written. And that's what I
Mhm.
will say. As far as the relationships, the chemistry, blah blah blah, I feel how I feel, but the way the book is written, it's written very, very well. I feel like it was realistic. Even the fact that she didn't go to therapy, even the fact that she was still spiteful or angry at Edward, like why wouldn't she be? You know what I mean? Like that makes sense. So I gave the book a 3.99999 out of 5 bookmarks.
Let's make some noise. Let's make some noise for Key. Let's make some more noise for Key. Gunshot. Nah. Because I gave Before I Let Go 5 star. That was a 5-star read, period. Like nobody can tell me that.
I
I
agree.
felt like this was a grade under,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna go with a 4.0. I'm gonna go with a 4
Good
bookmark
point. See,
on
we're like
the scale.
0.5.
So
Yeah.
we're 0.5 apart. So we kind of
Yes.
felt the same way. But coming off that high that we did with Before I Let Go, and now it's like it hit, but it didn't hit like the first book. And I
It
think it's
didn't.
because the first book had so many different dynamics, but I don't want to stay on that book for so long. But that's what I gave the book. I gave the book 4 bookmarks, right?
Yep.
And the next story is It's not Soledad story, it's Hendrix's story.
Hendrix. And
I
she's
am
one of my
really,
favorite characters.
I
I
am
like Hendrix. She's a
really,
boss lady. Like
she
she's got it
is.
going on. The
She
fact that
is.
she just gave her friend 10 bands. I
Like it
don't got
was
friends
nothing.
like that. I'm like,
I
I
ain't
need
got
better
friends.
friends.
Look, I got some friends. I got some not 10 band friends, but $100
Right.
and you ain't got to give it back to me. Don't worry about it.
Okay,
We
no, I'm
got
not
it
that
on that.
friend.
You know what
No,
I'm
no,
saying?
no. I be
You ain't got to
slaving
give
for
it
my
back.
coins. If I loan you money, you damn sure I'm gonna get it back. And that's why
I
people don't
got
ask
you.
me for money because I'm like, where's my money? And they be
Right,
like, here,
right.
you just loaned it to us. I
You
don't
just
care.
loaned it
I'm
to
about to
us.
start
I need my
charging
money.
interest. Right. I need to get me some 10 band friends. I mean, she
Oh
easily was just
man.
like, 10 band, here you go. I was like, and she was like,
There
girl,
you
I
go.
made that like in a day or whatever she said. I'm like,
Like,
Hendrix, I
don't worry about it.
cannot
You my
wait
homie.
to get to her story, especially because Hendrix
Yeah.
she's a character who she love him and leave him. She loves to have sex, but she is not interested in having kids or relationships. So I cannot wait
That's
to
why I can't wait to
see
see
how her
who her
story
love
unfolds.
interest is. Yeah.
She reminds
So
me a little bit of Nina from the Curvy
the
Girl
second book,
series.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Very, very
yeah.
independent. She's just doing her own thing, just having sex with men, being sexually liberated. And so I really, really like
Enjoy
those
that.
characters. Yeah, so I can't wait to read Hendrix too.
Well, y'all heard it first here
At the Bookfest
at the
Club.
Bookfest Club. You have a 3.5 and a 4.0. This is the second book in the Kennedy Ryan Skyland series. This Could Be Us. We have one more book left in the Skyland series. But before we get out of here, Key, is there anything you want to say to the people?
I want to say, Jay, let me know last week. We reached 500 subscribers.
We gotta make some noise. We gotta make some noise for that. We just can't sit on that.
I can't
We
hear the
can't
sound
sit
effects.
on that. I know you can't, but I done did it. 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 Make some
We
noise. Make
500
some noise. Some
subscribers on
gunshots. I done do all
YouTube.
that.
Yes, we are so excited about that
Thank
accomplishment,
y'all.
and
Thank y'all.
we still
Thank
got
y'all.
so much in store. We're changing up the style a little bit, so I hope y'all stick with us as we go through those changes. But thank y'all as always for supporting us. Thank y'all for always engaging on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and giving us
Thank
more book
y'all. Thank
suggestions
y'all.
and
Thank y'all.
listen to us on Spotify and Apple Music. Like, we
Yes.
love what we do, and what makes it the funnest thing to do in the world is talk books with y'all. So we couldn't be here without y'all,
100%.
and we are so appreciated. So thank you. We love you so much. What about you, Jay?
100%.
Any lasting thoughts from the
I ain't got
speaker?
nothing. Thank you for the
Mm-hmm.
500 subs, man, on YT. Like we couldn't have did this without y'all. You know what I'm saying? This is our passion, as we know y'all love reading, and we just wanted to create a space where, you know, sometimes every week y'all can come and just listen to somebody talk about books or the books that actually came out that we read. So we just thank y'all, man, and we want to thank y'all and hope y'all continuously support us. You know, and we just couldn't do this without y'all, man. And we appreciate
Jay, I
y'all
can't hear you.
every week. Oh man, you can't hear me. Well, well, we got to cut that one out because she's the reader. I'm the speaker. This is the Bookfest Club. Peace.
Peace.